We 19! We 19! Hey, Rex! Yeah. We 19! Can't. Oscar! Turbo to the... Give me east, right, flop. B right, all the way outside. Y, left. Fake, 396 bag. B hand, B puck. Is that long enough for you? 392. Check New York Bozo!
New York Bozo. It is week number 2. The Packers are 1-0. I almost screwed that up, didn't I? Bozo, yeah. And we are here. We're ready to go for week number 2. I'm Alex Strouf, as always, alongside Jacob Westendorf and Jimmy Christensen. This is the Presnap, presented by GameOnWisconsin.com. And we're getting ready to go, gentlemen. How are we on this Sunday?
Week 2, it's a beautiful week. The Packers are 1-0. Got another divisional opponent coming into Lambeau Field. No fans, but last week was still pretty fun without them. And honestly, I know we kind of talked about it during the show. I didn't really notice. And honestly, there was some cool stuff, some live F-bombs on television. So that gives me some hope that maybe one day me and my good friend Owen Reese could get on. And I know our producer Nick's in the background, and he was the master. He used to produce a show with Owen and myself, and he had the dump button ready all the time when Owen and I were together. So that gets me ready to roll. So I am happy. I'm excited. It is a football Sunday, and it is my daughter's first home opener for the Green Bay Packers today. So that should be a fun one.
Let's go. Hey, Jimmy, how are you?
I feel great, man. I'm excited for today. Home openers are always awesome, and like you said, we're going against another division opponent. Last year we started 2-0 against them. This year we'll start 2-0 against them. So I'm excited.
The fact that he didn't even waver. He's so confident that the Packers are going to win today. It's unbelievable. I'm with him. Maybe not as confident, but I'm with you on that side. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. But I'm also good. It's week number 2. And you know, every year it just feels like the NFL season flies. And I can't believe it's already week 2 Sunday. It's already flying. I'm not complaining by any means because I love me some football. But it does feel like it goes fast every single year. But week 2, here we are. The Packers host the Lions to open up their season in Lambeau Field, and a lot to go through. So let's jump into the injury report. We'll start on the Lions side of things. Kenny Golladay inactive today. So what does that do, A, for the Lions wide receiver core, and B, what does that say about how they're going to perform today? Obviously, Kenny Golladay, a huge part of that Detroit offense. He will not be active against the Packers. Jacob, what do you take away from this?
That's a big one. I mean, that's their best receiver. I know maybe not the biggest, most recognizable name, if you will. A lot of people might still associate Marvin Jones, but Galladay's a monster. He kills the Packers. I think they said somebody had a stat earlier this week that he averaged something like 25 yards a catch against them, either last season or in his career. I'd have to look at that to be 100% sure, but that was insane. He's a big target. He matches up well with Green Bay in general. He's a guy that when Stafford's under duress, he can just kind of throw it up and hope. And now that takes away somebody like that from him, he's replaced by a rookie. I know Quintez Cephas did well last week, but that's a rookie. And when you throw in a rookie against someone like Jair Alexander or Kevin King, or even someone like Chandon Sullivan and Josh Jackson or somebody like that, that's experienced guys that they're going to be able to, I think, probably take advantage of some of that stuff. So Matthew Stafford is somebody that I think in general, we talked about this on the Pack-A-Day podcast, Jimmy and I, on Thursday, how, you know, Matthew Stafford has all the arm talent in the world. As far as from just a pure talent standpoint, is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in all of football. From an intangible standpoint, from a, I don't even really know what you want to call it, but a clutch gene standpoint, if you want to call it that, wins and loss is not a quarterback stat. Let me get that out of the way. But there are too many bad and frankly dumb decisions that he makes late in games that lead to a lot of Lions losses. And he almost gets turned into a bit of a martyr throughout the course of his career because he's been unfortunate to have been playing for the Lions throughout the course of his young career so far. But it's been a tough go for them, and Stafford is part of the reason for that. Now you're taking away his best receiver. I think you're going to see a lot of in the game plan for Adrian Peterson. I'm sure we'll talk about him. TJ Hawkinson and Marvin Jones is another one of those against the Packers all-stars.
Yeah, no, Galladay always seems to, last season alone, he had a 121-yard game and then a 72-yard game. And one of those wasn't even with Matthew Stafford. So the Lions missing him this week is, it just kind of added to that confidence I had at the beginning of the show that we're going to win this game today because the defense doesn't have to worry about their top offensive weapon. I think the big person we're going to have to worry about now is TJ Hawkinson. I think with the Packers kind of, I don't know, sometimes they usually struggle against tight ends, and now we're going against someone coming into their second year. He's healthy. He did well against the Bears last week. So I think that's going to be the big thing, is now moving our focus to shutting down Hawkinson.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, the tight end problem, if you will. The Packers not great at defending the tight ends. At least that's what recent history has told us. So it's interesting to see how TJ Hawkinson will develop in year number 2 out of Iowa. But notable inactives for the Lions, as mentioned, Kenny Galladay, the wideout, is out. Desmond Trufant, Chris Jones, the tackle. I'm not even going to try. Jacob, do you know how to say that name?
Not the first name, but the last name I know is Vaitai.
Okay, good for you. Good for you. Yeah. We'll get the first one down eventually. But then on the other side, the Packers, Jordan Love, of course, same as last week. Perry Nickerson, Randy Ramsey, Lane Taylor, of course. Josiah DeGuara was the surprise, and Kenny Clark ruled out earlier this weekend by Matt LaFleur. Let's start with Josiah DeGuara. Jacob, I don't even know what to ask. Josiah DeGuara, this isn't a healthy scratch, we imagine, right?
No, he was listed as questionable. He had an ankle injury and a shin injury later in the week, so it's a bummer. He did so much last week for this offense, and he's one of those guys that Jacob Morley said it on the Game On Roundtable last weekend. I think he said it really well. He's a guy, he may not show up on the stat sheet, but he's going to show up on the scoreboard. And you look at just some simple stuff that he was able to do. That block that has made its waves around Packers Twitter, that was incredible. Some wheel route stuff that they tried for him. I know a lot of talk has been about Jay Sternberger, obviously. I think that I'm starting to waver and maybe too much after one game, but I will not be surprised if Josiah DeGuara is the team's primary tight end by the end of the season. And I think that today was going to be a big opportunity for him. Last week they were facing, as far as the Vikings' second level defenders and safeties, people that primarily match up with tight ends. There may not be a better group in the league prepared to or equipped to deal with people like that. Harrison Smith, Anthony Harris, Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr. That's a great group. The Lions aren't that. Simply put, the Lions are not that. This is a week where, and we'll get to this in a little bit, but I think the tight ends and the running backs are set up to have a huge day. And I thought DeGuara was going to be a big part of that. So it really is a bummer. He's going to miss the game today. I'll give you guys my X Factor pick to click, something like that a little bit later, but it's a bummer that he's out. Hopefully he can be back, because I think this is something, it sounds crazy to say because he's a rookie. He's played one game.
Yeah.
But as I've mentioned, and as the graphic Nick put together for me earlier this week, Matt LaFleur loves Josiah, and I love Josiah too. And I think he's a big part of this offense. So it's a bit of a bummer to see him not able to go today. Kind of
going off that, with him being you already mentioned, he was a huge part of the offense last week. He was making really important blocks to kind of break some plays, but I know last season they kind of dabbled with some Sternberger in the backfield. Do you think we could see that today with DeGuara not being there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that'll be part of the plan, and I'll save the rest for later.
He's saving everything for later, but that's fair enough. Thanks, Jacob and Jimmy, for that. So Josiah DeGuara out today against Detroit for Green Bay. I forgot to mention this at the top, so I might as well get to it now. Russell Brown will be joining us here in about 5-10 minutes. He is a national scout for cover1.net. He is the host of the Cover One NFL Draft podcast, does a ton of radio hits, and is in Michigan. So he's going to give us some Lions stuff. We'll break down the Lions backfield with Russell Brown here in about 5-10 10 minutes. Kyle Hoffenbecker, producer Kyle in the YouTube chat, says, I'm very intrigued with the fact Lane Taylor hasn't been put on IR yet. Do the Packers really think he can come back? Seems like a stretch to me. I'd agree with that. And, after the extent of the injury we saw a week ago, and he's still not on IR, is there some strategic planning here that I'm missing? I don't understand the point of not designating him right away.
No, and we've got a question out to Ken Ingalls, my Cap friend, if you will, over from Friends of the Show, the Unknown Packers podcast, to see if there's like a strategy for cap purposes that might be the case, or if it's just something as simple as we want to replace him with an offensive lineman and we just haven't found one that we necessarily like that much yet, so they don't want to replace him just to replace him.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, it's torn ACL. He's not coming back.
Right.
He's not coming back. So it's a matter of time before they put him on injured reserve. It's just maybe they don't want to waste the roster spot with somebody that they'll be able to or want to cut just within, a 1 week span or something like that. Maybe they're wanting to find somebody that'll fill that spot for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, definitely an interesting non-move, if you will, not to overanalyze what Brian Gutekunst is doing. But there you go. No IR yet for Lane Taylor. The Packers and the Lions later today in Lambeau Field, actually less than an hour away in Lambeau Field. It's the home opener for Green Bay. They're 1-0. The Lions last week had a 93.8% win probability percentage with less than 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Yet they somehow made Mitch Trubisky look like an absolute god in terms of quarterback status, as he throws 3 fourth quarter touchdowns to knock off the Lions. So the Lions 0-1, the Packers 1-0. What did you guys see from the Lions game last week? I know they were on at the same time as the Packers. What do you take away from that 27-23 blown loss, if you will, for Detroit last week? Jacob, we'll start with you.
2020 hasn't changed everything. There are still some semblances of normal. I mean, a friend of mine, it's the Lions or Lionsy, and that's the only way that I can really explain. I mean, when I looked at the scoreboard, I was like, okay, 23-6. The Packers at the time, it was like 29-10. It's like, okay, 2 1-0 teams at Lambeau Field next week. That should be fun to break down and dissect and preview. And then I looked up and found out that they were losing, and obviously the Packer game ended first. So here on the networks here, they switched over to the Bears game, and we were able to catch the end of that game. And, you feel for a guy like DeAndre Swift, who has a chance to make a huge play on the first, his first career game. And let me throw this in here real quick, sir. Yes, please share to everyone and everything that you guys want to do. So share to everyone and everyone that you want to. We want everybody here, all your friends and everybody. So
also another Milwaukee person. Shout out to Milwaukee. Yeah, we got that connection there, man.
As many as we can. So at any rate, 2020 hasn't changed everything. The Lions are still the Lions, and even when it feels like they have a chance to win, they find ways to lose. Matt Patricia's still a boob. Anything. I mean,
hold on a minute. Hold on. Did you legitimately, as an adult man, just insult the head coach of a pro football team by calling him a quote boob, end quote?
I did.
Wow, good for you.
He's
very mature. He's a boob. He's a boob. I'm with you.
That's it. The Lions are the Lions. I'm sure this will get played over and over in Michigan at some point if the Lions win today. But
I can't get over the whole boob thing.
Yeah.
So with their game against the Bears, kind of the first thing that he said too is I had deja vu to week 1 of last season. They had that lead against the Cardinals. They blew that as well, and then they ended up tying them.
Yeah.
They just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And now this week with one thing that I'll give them credit on something. One thing I was impressed about is they held the Bears defense to only 1 sack. A defensive line that's supposed to be pretty good. That is pretty good. Mac, Hicks, Quinn's on there now. So it's going to be interesting to see what our defensive line can do without having Kenny Clark. But it's a big day for the Smith brothers and Rashawn Gary to step up and make an impact. But besides that, the Lions are the Lions at this point. There's injuries. Their rookie corners has his first game against Devontae Adams, who's just at a different level appeared last week. So we saw what he can do to inexperienced corners, and it's just going to be a lot of the same this week. And hopefully DeAndre Swift has another drop. I hope he picks it up just after this week.
This is why at the beginning of the year too, when we do predictions and stuff, like I think all of us agree we'll be 1 year late on if the Lions are going to be really good, because I will never believe that the Lions are good until they actually are good. Because if there was a year for them to win the division, last year might have been it, because a lot of teams were in transition. The Bears were a candidate for regression. And what the Lions do, they bottom out, they go 3-13. This year might be another year like that, and they blow a game in the first week to a Bears team that, I mean, the Bears are kind of a team that could go either way. You know, there's so many teams in the division this year that can go either way. This is a big game for Detroit. If they start 0-2 in a year where this is a year where I really think that the teams that could bottom out might really, really bottom out fast, because it's, hey, we're playing in a year where there's so many things that we have to sacrifice even more so than in a normal year. I think that there's just a chance for teams to kind of give up a little bit sooner, if you will. So watching a team that could quit on Matt Patricia quickly, it could get ugly in Detroit fast if they start kind of bottoming out in the early portions of games.
This was kind of the year for them to, I think if they were healthy though, this team, if their secondary was healthy and Galladay was healthy, this team was one that I was worried about going into the season, just because if they didn't have the boob Matt Patricia as the head coach, like I'd be a little more concerned about them. But they got hit by the injury bug, and then they showed last week they're not over their little mental errors that they can somehow make Mitch Trubisky look like he should have been taken second overall. So
that all matters, though. I mean,
yeah. No, that's the thing. That's
right?
Yeah, that's football, but it's just like, I don't know. I had confidence in them, and it's just after week 1, it already just tanked.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It has evaporated into thin air. We mentioned Kenny Clark out for the Packers, Kenny Galladay out for the Lions. Who steps up today? I guess we can start with Detroit. Marvin Jones seems like an obvious answer, as does TJ Hawkinson. Where do you guys kind of fall? Who do you think makes a big step for that offense in light of Galladay's absence?
Everybody's old favorite friend all day. Adrian Peterson is here to torture us. I want to say one final time, but I really don't know. This dude is bionic and might play till he's 150. Who knows? He's like a 87 in running back years.
He just doesn't go away.
And he's still balling. Like, I mean, it's crazy how good this guy still is. And it's somebody that I thought's been washed up for two. Now, is he the Adrian Peterson of old? No, but he's still good.
And that's 93 yards last week
against a good Bears defense too. I mean, it's not like he was playing against a middle school team. So I'll be interested to see what he can do, but I think that that's somebody that the Lions are going to try and feature. You know, the Packers are a team that last week they kind of employed one of their old strategies, if you will. And that is the Vikings were able to run the ball on them early, and it kind of looked like a hot knife through butter on that first series. But then after that, it was the Packers grew a big enough of a lead to get ahead to the point where Minnesota really couldn't run the ball. And I think that's what the Lions are going to try and do, is keep this game close to where they can kind of control the game with their running game. That being said, that's going to be a tough strategy for them to employ, because you mentioned all the guys they're missing. They're missing 2 of their 3 top corners. They're missing a top defensive lineman. The Bears were able to run the ball on them last week. I think the Packers running game obviously is better than Chicago's. I just don't see how Detroit stops anything that Green Bay wants to do, even if Green Bay is missing a couple guys. And then you add in that, again, it's kind of the same stuff with the Vikings last week. What can Detroit take away that Green Bay does well? You know, something the Patriots have done really, really well for years is take away your best thing and make you do something else a little bit better to beat them. And sometimes it's worked, but in Green Bay's case, they can't take away Devontae Adams. They can't take away Aaron Jones. Those are Green Bay's 2 best weapons. So I don't see much, but Adrian Peterson is going to be, if Detroit wins, we'll be talking about Adrian Peterson running for $150 and a couple of touchdowns tomorrow morning.
Well, I was gonna follow up. He had 93 last week. If I set 92.5 as the over/under for Adrian Peterson rushing yards, you're taking which one?
Over.
Really?
Over. Yeah.
Wow.
I think they'll feed him, and it's just, even if the game's not necessarily competitive to where they can run it with him, I could see him breaking a 60-yarder for a touchdown. And even if they keep him in check the rest of the way, he still only needs 33 yards.
Yeah.
So he could get, 10 carries and get 3 yards on every carry and pretty much pass that. So yeah, give me Adrian Peterson. I know that sounds ridiculous to take a running back who's 35 years old, but it's AP. He's a Hall of Famer and he's first ballot for a reason.
That's fair. His presence in the league the last 5-6 years has been so wacky. I mean, he got cut from the Washington football team 2-3 weeks ago, and he was going off for 93 yards instead of the rookie they drafted or the other guy in their backfield, Kerryon Johnson. So Adrian Peterson, he's still doing it. He's still all day, as Jacob mentioned, and he's in Detroit now, of all places. 2020, of course. Jimmy, what you got?
I'm going to go, and I mentioned him a little bit already, but I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson as a guy to kind of see step up for the Lions. Like I mentioned before, with the trouble that we have on our covering tight ends, and Raven Green missed last week, and if he's back, he might not be 100%, and he's going against someone that has a lot of talent. He was a top 10 pick for a reason. He's a talented tight end, and he's in his second year now, which tight ends always the first year have trouble breaking out. And he was hurt last year as well. This year's a little bit different. He showed last week he has a little bit of connection with Matt Stafford, caught all 5 targets, brought in a touchdown. So we'll see what he can do. Again, it's going to be a time to see what Kirksey can do against tight ends. Same with Barnes. I know he didn't play a lot he played last week, but we'll see how much we trust him against a top talent like that. But so Hawkinson's my guy to watch out for.
Yeah, I like that pick too. I think you mentioned it, the guy out of Iowa. Both of those tight ends, really, and Noah Fant, who's with Denver, but TJ Hawkinson as well, both the Iowa guys from the 2019 NFL draft. Looking to take a big step this year after pretty quiet-ish rookie years for each of them. But TJ Hawkinson teaming up with Matthew Stafford in Detroit could be a deathly combo. Shall they be hitting on all cylinders today? I want to go to the Green Bay offense, because we talked a lot last week about the running back room, as we just did with Detroit, but the Green Bay running back room is an interesting one. And last week we saw all 4 running backs get used, A.J. Dillon, Tyler Ervin being, of course, the third and fourth, we'd imagine, and they each saw some good time last week. Do you expect a lot of the same? I do this week with the usage of all 4 running backs. Jacob?
Yeah, Matt LaFleur said that he wants to get A.J. Dillon some more carries this week too. So that's something I'm looking forward to. He had 2 carries last week, and he looked really good on both of them. Granted, that's 2 carries, so it's a really, really small sample size. But his second carry, I think I tweeted out during my little film review last week that I thought there's a world where him and Harrison Smith collide and the world explodes. Like, I legitimately thought somebody was going to die. And Dillon is somebody, he's a hard guy to bring down. He's a hard guy to tackle. If the Packers can get, granted, they're not going to possess the ball for 40 minutes like they did last week every single game. But if they have the ball and have a tired defense, Dillon's going to be the guy that closes out games. And that's somebody that, again, hard to bring down, hard to stop late in games when the defense is tired, and a motivated, angry runner, which is what A.J. Dillon is. I'd love to see something like that. I picked him as somebody. Yesterday I posed the question, and a lot of you guys responded to it, and we'll kind of get to some of this too. But I said, who's kind of your out of the box pick to score a touchdown? So we know Aaron Rodgers is going to throw a touchdown pass. If he does, it's probably to somebody like Devontae Adams. If it's a rushing touchdown, it's probably Aaron Jones. Who's your outside the box pick to score a touchdown? I had A.J. Dillon as one. I kind of called my shot on that. And the other one I have is Jay Sternberger. And those are 2 guys that I kind of picked as outside the box guys to score. Well, in order to do that, A.J. Dillon has to be on the field more. But I think that the Packers have 4 guys that can do a lot of different stuff. Jamal Williams is good on the inside zone stuff. Aaron Jones is dynamic runner, one of the best running backs in all of football. A.J. Dillon will destroy you, run through a MF face, to use Marshawn Lynch's old terminology. And then you got Swerve and Irvin, who's kind of that gadget player that Matt LaFleur's got a lot of weapons at his disposal. So that's what I think that Green Bay is going to do with their backfield. And I think that they should continue to use that as much as possible, because you've seen, the last thing I'll say is Ross Uglum had a tweet last week during his film review where Eric Kendricks, one of the best linebackers in the league, is literally standing flat-footed because he has no idea where the ball is. That is a perfect example of something like that. So I'm curious to see what they do. I think that they should continue to use that stable of running backs as much as they can.
Yeah, one thing that LaFleur kind of mentioned in his press conference last week too is he kind of likes to use a little bit more at committee in the first half, tire the defense out. They always have kind of a fresh guy in there against the defense. And then in the second half, when they're worn down, maybe then go towards the kind of the hot hand. We'll see who it is this week. But one thing that I would be interested to see is Aaron Jones ran against an 8-man box more than anyone else last week. I don't see a world where the Lions can do that if they want to try to stop Devontae and Rodgers. So like they're gonna have to change their defense up a little bit. They're not gonna be able to pack the box as much as the Vikings did, and that's gonna open up the run game for whichever running back's in there. But I expect a lot more yards on the ground this game, and we know AJ Dillon's going to have more carries. LaFleur mentioned it in his conference, but we'll see how many he gets. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how they use all 4 running backs, including Irvin. I know end arounds, even just that motion is going to get people kind of frozen for a second. And also I got to see my predictions on the board behind me. Aaron and Jamal are having a touchdown today. So we'll see how it goes.
That's friend of Game On Wisconsin, Jay Swag Daddy, by the way.
Yeah, by the way.
Throwing that one out there.
Listen to him every Tuesday.
Starting Tuesday, the Jamal Williams Show on Game On Wisconsin. Super excited for that. But we need to get him in the end zone before the show debuts on Tuesday. So let's hope he lives up to Jimmy's expectations, because if he doesn't, he's going to hear about it on Tuesday. If he doesn't score today, Jimmy, you better lay into him a little bit on Tuesday.
I'm not going to let him on the show. No, I'm just kidding.
He's not on the Jamal Williams Show.
I'm going to call Luke and be like, Luke, I need you on here instead of Jamal. I'm pretty upset right now.
Oh, that's great. So Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, Tyler Irvin, AJ Dillon, those are the 4 members of the Packers backfield. And we've got some high expectations, it seems, for the backfield today. And I'm with you guys 100%. I was really pleased to see the action Tyler Irvin was getting last week. Even if he wasn't getting the ball, it was good to see him on the field. He got a 3rd down carry in the first quarter on that first possession for Green Bay last week against Minnesota that took about 7.5 minutes. You saw Tyler Irvin get a 3rd down carry. That's good to see for me. Get all 4 guys involved, because all 4 of them belong on the football field. They're all good backs and versatile guys. So it was good to see Tyler Irvin and AJ Dillon get a little bit of action last week. We'll see more this week, we assume. And I'm here for it, man. I'm here for that backfield room, because those guys, they've been the center of a lot of discussion this offseason. So it's been good to see that Matt LaFleur will mix it up with AJ Dillon.
Alex, we have a starting offensive line group. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, I would.
All right. We have a new left tackle. I'm just kidding.
I pooped a little bit.
It's David Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Corey Lindsley, Lucas Patrick is playing right guard, and Rick Wagner is playing right tackle. So Billy Turner is active, but is not starting. Maybe I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on that are. Not to steal the host's role of this show, I suppose, but I'm curious what your thoughts on that are. Maybe it's because he's not 100%. Next week might be the big week to see if he's been benched, or if he's been what's the phrase? Wally pipped. Did Rick
Wally
Wagner
pipped? That's what we're gonna go with.
Are you familiar with Don Mikowski? Happy birthday, Nick, on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day that falls on. So, for those of you that don't know, Nick's birthday falls right on the day that Mikowski lost his starting gig to Brett Favre eventually. So,
there you go.
Anyways, whether that's what happened, or if Turner's just not healthy and they're kind of using him as a, hey, we have you, you're good enough to go, but not like good enough to start kind of thing. So we'll use you if we need you. So I'm curious to see how that goes. I know Billy Turner's kind of the whipping boy of the offense, and I use the phrasing of like scapegoats. So whenever something goes wrong on offense, that's the guy everybody blames immediately, is that person. So for example, that guy on defense for the last at least 2 years has been Blake Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that can kind of put that together as to what exactly that means, that guy on offense has been Billy Turner for most of this offseason. So I'm curious, Alex, what do you think? Is this he's been benched situation, or is this a health type situation at the moment?
I mean, it's going to be a health thing for now, until maybe it does come out that he is benched. I don't know what the real motivation behind it is. I'd imagine it's health. I imagine that's what Matt LaFleur will tell us in a few hours post game. But I don't know if he'll roll with the route of, the guy's been on the injury report the last 2 weeks, but we just decided to bench him. I think we'll find out that it is a health route. However, I wouldn't be shocked if that would be the situation later this year, Jacob. If we do see Billy Turner get yanked from that starting lineup, or maybe he just never returns to the starting lineup. We'll see. But I would think this is health driven, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, I would definitely say health driven, because it's hard for me to imagine, even though, like you said, he's been kind of the scapegoat for the offensive line, but it's hard for me to imagine that even if they were impressed with Wagner last week at right tackle, that a healthy Billy Turner wouldn't beat out Lucas Patrick. And I know he's had a solid camp and he was a starter last week, but there's a reason Billy Turner started over him last year, even though he definitely had a little boost up with just signing a contract. But I definitely think it's just a health thing. Like you said, he's healthy enough to be there if they need him, but just not healthy enough to be a relied on starter right now.
And it's good to see Elton Jenkins will not be playing on the right side of the line to start this week. He will be back to his normal position of left guard. But we've got to talk about that because that was unbelievable. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but Elton Jenkins last week, ridiculous how he was just moving all over the place like it was nothing. Like he's a second-year guy. I wouldn't be maybe this blown away if it was a 7th, 8th, 9th year guy that's just making these shifts. But the real rookie of the year showed off last week.
Yeah, he's just good everywhere. Like, I mean,
it's that simple, right?
He's just good everywhere. And I know I was very vocal on not playing musical chairs on the offensive line because that was one of my worries was what happens when an interior guy gets injured? Do you just move people around again? And they did, and it worked. Now, I'm still not a proponent of it, but they did, and it worked. So I'm curious to see if Green Bay's plan for the future maybe is to try and shore up those guard spots. And if Elton Jenkins is your 2021 starting right tackle, because we've talked about the salary cap gymnastics, it's very possible that Billy Turner and Rick Wagner both are not on this team next season. And if that's the case, the Packers are essentially starting over at the right tackle position and maybe left tackle too. I certainly hope not. I don't think that there's anything there to be worried about just yet, but that's possible as well. But if that's the case, I think Jenkins plays right tackle, or at least is a candidate to play right tackle in that spot. So that's what I think on there.
Yeah, I've listened to the Pat McAfee show this week, and they had on Nick Mangold. I probably butcher that name from the Jets.
Just Mangold, isn't it? It's just Mangold, yeah.
Or whatever, guys. Nick M. All right, Nick M. And they had him on, and he was talking about Ty Schmidt actually asked about the Packers offensive line and how with the injuries there's some shuffling around. And he mentioned the difficulty of people think it's easy because, or not easy, but if you go from right guard to left guard, that should be an easy transition. It's the same position. But he did that last season. All preseason, he was right guard, and then he had to fill in at left guard. And then this year already went to right tackle and then had to go to left guard again. So it's just, I don't know. I was even more impressed with him, just the ability to keep switching like that. And like you said, for a second-year player, I know he did it in college, but again, we're at a different level. Usually, you don't see that much in the NFL, people being able to switch that early in their career. Or because even, who do we have? Josh Sitton at one point covered for Bakhtiari, and he mentioned how much he hated it.
Yes, he did. He was very vocal.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons he got cut.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, not like, I mean, I think that's one of the final straws, I should say, as to why he got cut, because he was very vocal about why he shouldn't have played there that night.
Yeah. But like even that, like a seasoned veteran is just saying like he doesn't like doing that. And I'm sure there's a part of the reason he doesn't like doing it is because it's not the easiest thing to do in the world. And we just saw a second-year player make it look easy as hell.
Easy as hell, indeed. I mean, Elton Jenkins is a pro's pro. He'll have a payday coming here in a few years, as Bakhtiari has a payday coming, we hope, soon. Tyler Grezagoric in the YouTube chat says, did you guys know we pulled Greg Jennings again for today's broadcast? I did see that.
Love it.
When did he
I don't
get
mind
in the
it.
booth? When did he? I thought he sounded fine last week, but I never knew he was doing color commentary until last week.
His first game that I remember him doing was Brett Hundley was the starting quarterback.
Oh, go Pack. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the Bucks game that Green Bay won in overtime. I'll never forget this. Yes. Aaron Jones had one carry for 20 yards and a touchdown in overtime. That was his only carry of the game, and it was in overtime. So that was the first game I remember Jennings doing. I love it, actually. I think it's because whenever Rodgers does something well in front of Jennings, his entire career in the NFL was made around Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And now his entire post career is made around Aaron Rodgers. So he might as well do all the Packers games too. And last week he was in the booth and Rodgers took a dump on him. So it was great.
He was probably saying the Packers should move on from Rodgers for Hundley after that win, even though Aaron Jones ran it in. That was probably
exactly
his next hot take on the herd or something.
Gosh, the Brett Hundley era, man, that was just not great. It was
Struggle
hard to
City,
watch.
man.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. I mean, the whole thing is just, even when they kick a field goal, it was like a celebration of, oh my God, we scored points.
Yeah.
Like, great points. Yeah. But yeah, that was rough. Hopefully the goal is never, ever, ever let the backup quarterback play. Backup quarterbacks suck. This is my my presidential slogan. If I ever ran for president,
backup quarterbacks suck.
Yes. There's a reason. It's like there's a reason we never want the next man up to play, and it's because the next man up sucks.
It's because the next man up isn't as good, right?
Right. Because for every Nick Foles or somebody like that plays well as the backup quarterback, there's a million Brett Hundleys and Deshaun Kaisers.
Unless it's I was just about to say it. Unless it's Tim Boyle or Jordan Love.
Tim Boyle's laser show is great for the preseason, and Air Jordan might be the heir apparent here in Green Bay, but I hope he doesn't play for like 3 years. So
yeah. I'm kind of with you on that. So
minimum.
As pumped up as I was for that choice, he put the team on his back though. F you, Gumby. You guys remember that video?
Oh, of course.
Broken leg. That's
what were you, like 5 years old when that video came out?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I was going to say I was exaggerating, but I don't think I was.
I don't think you were, not a whole lot. I was probably about 8, if we're being honest. But good. Defensive X factor with Kenny Clark out. Somebody's going to step up for Green Bay.
Buckets all day.
Ooh.
Kingsley Kiki, man. I've got to give he's going to be the guy who steps in, right? I mean, you probably see a fair amount of Dean Lowry and Tyler Lancaster too. It's just like, that's kind of gross.
Let it fly.
Yeah. I mean, with all due respect to those guys, it's just like, there's just not a whole lot there. They're Jags, man. And nothing against guys like that. Every defense needs Jags. Every defense has Jags. I guess they don't need them, but Kingsley Kiki is the second most talented defensive lineman on this team. He's somebody that can make some plays on that. I think he's somebody, if he could control it enough. I'm not saying the Packers today, when it comes to their run defense, it has to be kind of a survive and advance type situation because they're not going to slow everything down. They're just not. And they're not going to shut them down. So what they have to do is get them into obvious passing situations enough to the point where they can make some plays that way. So you can't expect them to say, oh, they're going to hold AP to, 2.5 yards carry. It's just not going to happen. Kenny Clark's not in. That's the second most indispensable player on this team other than Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, because of who I just mentioned were his replacements. So with that, Kiki's got to have a big day. Can he do enough to keep it to where Peterson doesn't run through them the way that the 49ers did, the way the Eagles did, the way the Los Angeles Chargers did a couple seasons ago? So I think that's the case.
Before I give mine, Jacob, what have you done to Todd? Because I've seen him compliment you twice in our comment section, and I'm so confused.
Listen, Todd's birthday was yesterday, so what he did to celebrate, I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we're going that direction. Good, Jacob. Yeah.
He's in a good mood. My X factor for this one's going to be Rashawn Gary. I think we are going to see a lot more snaps from him on the field this week, especially with Clark out. There's going to be a lot more Z going in the middle to kind of add some support there, as well as we could even see Rashawn there getting some stand-up nose tackle or even having his hand in the ground. So we'll see what we can get out of him, but I think there's going to be an increased workload for him, and he did well last week. He had the most pressures on the team, so I think this is another big week for him to step up and kind of fill the shoes of Kenny Clark, which no one can do, but people can try.
No one can do. People can try. And I think a former first-round pick is going to try. I think Rashawn Gary has a big game today, assuming he gets the reps. That is your son. That's correct. I was going to mention that, but you beat me to it. So Jacob's son, Jacob's daughter's birthday was yesterday. Jacob's son's big day is today as Kenny Clark, as Rashawn Gary going to bring some heat off the edge. I like his chances against a team like Detroit. We'll see if he gets the reps to make a big impact that I think he can make. And we've been waiting for this will be game 20 that we're waiting for Rashawn Gary's coming out party. I think this is when it finally happens.
Oh, Rashawn led the team in pressures last week, but and yes, we're on a first name basis because he's my child.
Yes, he is your child.
I refer to him directly as Blake's brother when I'm talking to her as well. So she knows that too. But led the team in pressures last week. It's one of those. Dusty Evely says it all the time. Process over results. The process is there. I think the results come today. I think you guys are right that it could be a big day for some of the pass rushers today. They got to make some plays. I think you got to see some plays out of the secondary too. But Stafford's known to throw you a couple. He's kind of like Brett Favre in that way, right? Thing about Favre was he's going to throw you a couple. You just got to make sure you catch him.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
Packers got to make sure they catch them. So I think that could be maybe one of your differences in the game. Because Jimmy, we talked about this again on Thursday. The Lions have weapons that match up well with Green Bay's weaknesses on the offensive side of the ball. Stafford's a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
They have Danny Amendola as a slot receiver. The Viking slot receiver was nowhere to be found last week. TJ Hawkinson's a better player than Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith, so they can do that. There's a chance that the Lions put up some points. So I look forward to the sky is falling takes that come around the Packers defense if the Lions are able to put up some points today. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think that the defense will give up some plays, but I think they'll make some as well. And I'll give Jair Alexander as another pick to click. I think you have another interception today from 23.
I like it. I'm good with that. One of my favorite players. I wore his jersey last week. I was feeling really, really good after he got that safety and the pick in the first half last week. I thought it was all me.
It wasn't.
By the way, it wasn't, but I thought it was. You said you're not sure what it's going to be. I'm going to make you choose what it's going to be. It's score prediction time. Who you got to win and what's the score? Jacob, lead us off.
Yeah, I think that Green Bay builds a bit of a lead. I know my guy Seth in the chat asked, can they score enough points early to where they can't run the ball? I think that's not really a strategy, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think Green Bay, again, I don't see where Detroit can stop Green Bay. They're missing two of their top three corners. They don't really stop the run all that well, and their second-level defenders stink. Well, what does Green Bay do well? They throw the ball to Devontae Adams. They run the ball, and they can throw to the tight ends on some fancy stuff that LaFleur can do. All of that doesn't go very well for what the Lions are able to do. So unless Trey Flowers can just destroy the game, which he's got reservations on Bakhtiari Island today, so good luck with that one. I just don't see how that happens. I think Green Bay gets a lead, and I think that it's one of those, again, maybe the Lions score a touchdown late to make this game look closer than it really is. I'll take Green Bay. I say 37-31. 2-0 in the division, 2-0, and Matt LaFleur moves to 8-0 in the NFC North and continues to get no respect around the NFL as a great head coach that he is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's definitely be some points scored on both sides of the ball. I think, or both teams, I mean, and I think the Lions are going to score a touchdown late, kind of how we said on the pack a day, it should be called petting time now, like garbage time.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the shows I've done with you or whoever else. I don't know. We call it just garbage time now, or petting time. So I think the Packers have a comfortable lead, and then the score towards the end just makes it look a little bit closer than it actually was. I'm going to go Packers 31, Lions 24.
I like the 31. I think the Packers win. I'm with you guys. We're going to go unanimous there. And I think they score in the 30s as well. 31-14 is my final. I think the offense for Detroit sputters a little bit. The offense for Green Bay gets rolling early. They don't need to attack so much in the later stages of the game. Let's hope petting time looks a lot better than the 24 the Packers let up in the fourth quarter last week against Minnesota, because that was ugly. And we need that not to happen again against a team like Detroit. When you're in a divisional game especially, you can't be letting stupid, silly things like that happen. So we're all on the Green Bay train. We're all on 30-plus points for the offense/defense. Well, more so offense. And I like it. And we all went 1-0 on the Packers prediction last week. Let's make it 2-0. But we all went 1-1 last week for our locks and our upsets. I think it was Jimmy and I, if I'm remembering correctly, got our upsets, lost our lock. Jacob, you hit the lock and lost the upset, which is the easy way to go.
That's the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Exactly right. You did it well. So I will lead off this week as we're all tied 1-1 at the top of the leaderboard. I will take my lock, and I don't love picking a divisional opponent as a lock, but I will take the Minnesota Vikings over the Indianapolis Colts as my lock this week. And my upset, this one's bold. I'm not super confident in it, but I'm going with it. My upset, I will take Houston over the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, nice.
Okay, I don't like either one of those picks. I like you to go 0-2, my friend. So, Houston's definitely not winning, and I don't think Minnesota matches up well with Indianapolis. But okay, so I suppose that kicks it to me. My lock, I'm
Just
gonna
pooped all over yours.
Yeah,
I-
no lie.
Hey, that's
We'll
what
see
I-
what
that's-
happens.
That's what I'm here for. Now this week he'll go 2-0 and I'll go 0-2.
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
I'll just shut up next week if that's the case. My lock, I'm going to take the 49ers over the Jets. The 49ers are an angry team. The Jets might be the worst team in the NFL, with all due respect to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I know are fighting for that title. On my upset, I will take, and this is a Nick Schmidt special, the washed up quarterback in Tampa Bay loses to the Carolina Panthers today. I will take the Carolina
Wow.
Panthers over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I kind of like that pick, and I don't know if you guys were able to see this happen while we were on, but Brett Favre is at Raymond James Stadium wearing
Hashtag
a
not my quarterback.
Yeah, what the
Hashtag
hell?
not my quarterback. What the hell's going on there? I have no idea. Jimmy, lock, upset.
Yeah, my lock for this one is just going to be Kansas City Chiefs over the Los Angeles Chargers. That offense just looks unstoppable, especially with Edwards-Helaire coming out of the backfield now, and it's just I don't see how the Chargers have any chance of slowing them down. So I'm going with the Chiefs over the Chargers. And then my upset is actually going to be I'm continuing. I fell in love with this guy last year. His mustache is amazing. His outfits are amazing. I'm going Minshew Mania, baby. Minshew Mania. Jaguars. They're continuing this upset train. No one believes in us thing, and they're gonna beat the Titans.
Gardner Minshew, the best backup quarterback in the NFL.
I love that man. Once I heard that he stretched in a jock strap in the locker room, I was like, this guy is hilarious.
You're all in.
Yeah,
Your
he reminds me
MMA
of
locker room background is all in. Yeah.
He's like Sunshine from Remember the Titans, just a weird quarterback.
What I need you to do, Jimmy, is I need you to get a green screen. And what I want is your background for the next 15, 16 shows that we do to just be Gardner Minshew with his handlebar mustache.
I would love that. I will definitely do
There you
that.
go. All right, there you go. That's
Yeah,
it.
I don't
And then, Green Bay plays the Jaguars, so we've got to figure out something cool for you to do for that. So
He's going to have 8 touchdowns, but the Packers will have 9, so we'll be fine.
I like that. I'm okay with that. If Gardner Minshew drops 8 touchdowns on Green Bay, that'd be the last guy I'd complain about doing that because I'm with you.
he'd be the first. What are you talking about? The Jaguars are terrible.
That's
No,
not a bad point. But Gardner Minshew.
I don't care. If the Packers give up 8 touchdowns to Jacksonville, I don't care if
But it's Gardner Minshew.
Yeah,
I don't
know
care
if
if
you know
Peyton
this.
Manning comes out of retirement and plays for Jacksonville. If they give up 8 touchdowns to Jacksonville, we can just mail it in. They're not a championship defense. If they're giving up 8 touchdowns to the Jaguars.
I think you're underestimating Gardner Minshew. And
I think you're underestimating Gardner
I didn't.
Minshew
I
as
called
well.
him the best backup quarterback in the league. The problem is he's a starter.
That is a problem. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, those are our predictions. That is our show. And we did okay. We'll see how those predictions air out. Some of them a little bold, but I like them nonetheless. That's Jacob Westendorf. That's Jimmy Christensen. I am Alex Strouf. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy the game, and we will see you after the game for the post route. With me, I'll take your calls as we break down what we hope is a Packers victory. Peace.
Yeah.
You know what it is. I'm a cheesehead. Y'all niggas cheese whiz.